She lacked class too. What the hell kind of woman openly plays around with somebody's man when that somebody is in the bedroom right next door, when that somebody is married to a pointer sister? That's who. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com. Today's looky would be our book club tote. Say what, Nay? We got a tote bag? Yes, indeed we do, because we've been reading with Uptown NayRob. We got two versions. The first version I'm not really happy with because it's slightly off, okay? That one is being sold for $23. The second one I'm really happy with. So that one is being sold for $33. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, child, this book is getting the juicy. Okay, we ain't getting a lot of views, but it's still getting juicy, okay? Let's continue talking about Miss Ruth Pointer's Still So Excited. We appeared infallible, but behind the scenes, the Pointer sisters were a dysfunctional bunch. And while we looked after each other, we had to cover for June a lot throughout our career. But it's what we knew. As I mentioned earlier, June's grape sparked a downward spiral whose magnitude the rest of the family weren't hip to for years. She was also the baby of the family, which means that our mother and every one of our siblings went out of the way to protect and spoil her. Word. I recall one time when she didn't like one of her stage dresses and she burned it in the hotel bathroom. When she was in that mindset, trying to reason with her was a fool's errand. That's not my words, that's what Ruth said. It's like we set ourselves up for these baby girl shenanigans, man. Baby boys don't be no better. Older siblings, we know how ugly the world is. So what we try to do is shelter them, but she'll never be put in some of the situations that I have been put in. When she was in that mindset, trying to reason with her was a fool's errand. As all-knowing and powerful as we thought David Rubinson was in those days, even he couldn't snap her out of it. Sometimes she'd become unreachable. In hindsight, June was just 20 years old and probably bipolar. How many people we can look back at and say, ooh, yikes, they was probably schizophrenic. Ooh, yikes, they was probably bipolar. I'm telling you, the worst murker I know has been diagnosed with schizophrenia. I said, no wonder your ass was murking. Damn. But even if we knew then what we suspect now, mental illness or grape wasn't something that was publicly or privately discussed, much less dealt with the way it is now. Our relentless touring and 12-hour workdays, not to mention all the extracurricular fun, really started to get June. Her skeletal appearance, she was down to 90 pounds at one point. An increasingly detached attitude had us all worried. She had a history of nervous breakdowns, and the frenzied showbiz pace, along with our nonstop partying, took their toll. June was admitted to San Francisco's Mount Zion Hospital several times. Then just prior to our first stint at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, June collapsed again. her third such episode in a year's time. Our 2-week engagement in Vegas came on the heels of a chaotic European tour and was our first grab at some real money, $100,000. That's a cool $1 million in today's dollars. That pricely sum came in addition to complimentary hotel suites, executive chefs, limo service, the house orchestra, a $1,200 seat state-of-the-art showroom, and billing on the marquee towering over the famous strip that read the Pointer Sisters in letters the size of a small person. Speaking of which, headlining the show at Caesars was Paul Anka, the 5'6", one-time teenage heartthrob, and still a draw in Vegas. A lot was riding on this gig for us, and everyone knew it. In hindsight, we were pushed and shoved into doing the Vegas thing, and managers will often make you feel like you're riding that train to glory, and if you don't cooperate, your career will be wrecked. I mean, you got to ride that wave, baby, because if you don't, the public is very fickle. Okay, and they'll move on to the next one. A lot was riding on this gig for us, and everyone knew it. In hindsight, we were pushed and shoved into doing the Vegas thing, and managers will often make you feel like you're riding that train to glory, and if you don't cooperate, your careers will be wrecked. It was too soon for this kind of show, but none of us knew it at the time. June joined us in Vegas, but then announced that no way was she going to perform. She didn't even want to leave her suite. We begged, we pleaded, we cajoled, screamed, and threatened, but it was like talking to a deaf person. I remember reading in the Anita book, or reading this episode in the Anita book. What happened was they had to bring the parents out there to try to convince her to get on stage. June wasn't breaking. She wasn't breaking. So what ended up happening was the three of them had to figure it out. June went back with her parents to a hospital so that she can get herself together. The problem was them people was pissed. We paid for 4 Pointer Sisters. I don't see nothing but 3 here. Then on top of that, the dude Paul Anka was shady to them. Huh? Please like the video, guys. It is so important to our success on the YouTube. Like the video. Like the video. Something else that didn't help then or throughout our 2 weeks there was the fact that Paul Anka was, to put it as nicely as he deserves, an unmitigated prick. We quickly came to know why a musician who'd played with him once referred to that time as his sentence to Alcatraz. Anka suffered from a severe case of little man's disease. His towering ego and my way attitude were insufferable to us and everybody else unfortunate enough to speed time around him. On stage, he introduced us as one of the most exciting acts to come along in years, but always in a way that made it clear he didn't think that at all. Ooh, he is a D. Anyway, when our engagement was over, Caesar's Palace cut us our check and gave us an escort to the airport. It wouldn't be many years before we were welcomed back. I don't have any hard evidence that the Pointer Sisters were officially blacklisted by the casinos, but surely Paul Anka's shit list wasn't the only one with our names on it. It would be very convenient for me to let poor June shoulder the lion's share of the blame for this. But the sad fact is that she wasn't the only screw-up with the last name Pointer. Several months after I married Carl, I stepped out on my marriage. It wasn't cool, and it sure wasn't pretty. But let me tell you something. She didn't step out first. In my defense, if you can call it that, Carl had stepped out first. We were living with his sister Helen in Richmond, California, and one evening I walked into our bedroom and there was Carl in bed with another woman. He actually had the balls to get indignant, like I was the one who'd stepped over the line and ordered me out of the house. Now, I know this is your sister's house, nigga, but I'm sure, Ruth, is paying some bills around Helen's house now. God daggone it. Helen loved me like a sister, and I felt the same way about her. She was ashamed of her brother's behavior and said I didn't have to leave the house. I had no place to go anyway. So I moved into her daughter's room right next door. She said she could hear them two getting it on. Didn't matter. Because she had something in the wings waiting for. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? Not many women's, except for Aretha Franklin, gets the opportunity to sleep with Dennis Tight Pants Edwards. Okay? Not many that I know of had the opportunity to sleep with Dennis. I could see your dick print Edwards. But whether my husband cheated or not, I don't know. You know, I don't know. Dennis Edwards? Madeo. Dennis, I can see your dick print Edwards? Girl, hold on. I not only had to listen to them bump uglies again that night, but repeatedly for the next several months. His actions were baffling to me, not only because he knew the hurt I had suffered at the hands of my first husband, but also, frankly, because Miss Stang was one ugly heifer. That don't mean nothing. She lacked class, too. What the hell kind of woman openly plays around with somebody's man when that somebody is in the bedroom right next door, when that somebody is married to a Pointer sister? That's who. You mean to tell me I can go to the house of Ruth Pointer of the Pointer Sisters and make love to her husband? She walk in on us, then go into the next room, and then we can finish doing the do, and it's okay? Dennis Edwards, I suppose, was my opportunity to give Carl some much needed karmic payback. It happened in the summer of 1974 when we made our 8th and final appearance on the Helen Reddy Show. As we stepped onto the NBC soundstage, I heard the faint sounds of a music group rehearsing. Those voices were magnificent and somewhat familiar, and it suddenly drew me in. It was the Temptations. What? Seize the day, Ruth Pointer. I don't blame no woman for not taking an opportunity to crawl on top of a temptation. Are you crazy? Oh, Lordy. Chills went up and down my spine because the Temptations had always been one of my favorite groups. I think every African-American woman from that era would agree that the Temptations were our Black Beatles. In my opinion, there has never been a guy group as talented and sexy as the Temptation. Hold it. Stop right there, Miss Ruth. I know this is, outside of your age range, but the new edition. When Dennis Edwards replaced David Ruffin in 1968, the Temptations were in the midst of a musical makeover. They switched gears from white glove R&B to psychedelic soul, and adult contemporary R&B, thanks in part to the direction and production of the talented Norman Whitfield. Now, Betty LaVette said that Norman Whitfield was a bitch. To her. Okay, because I ain't never heard nobody else say that Norman Whitfield was out of pocket with them. Dennis sang the soulful, gritty, and gospel lead vocals on I Can't Get Next to You, Runaway Child, Running Wild, and Motown's first ever Grammy Award-winning single, Cloud 9. But he was really thrust into the spotlight after Papa was a Rolling Stone. Remember when we read TT's book, TT said that Dennis Edwards wanted to come in and just do his job. Let me sing. I ain't trying to be Ruffin. I'm just trying to be Dennis Edwards and just be quiet. Let me just fit in where I get in. That's what he presented at first. But then they later realized that Dennis Edwards was more like a David Ruffin than they anticipated. After Dennis came in as Ruffin's replacement, he started down the same road and became a large pain in everybody's ass. But when I saw him for the first time that day on the ready set, my legs and other parts started quaking. After I put my eyes back in my head and recovered the power of speech, I did something I'd never done before. I asked him for his autograph. Me too, Miss Ruth. I'd be like, can you sign my new boob? Mr. Dennis Edwards, at 6'4", 6'8", if you counted his afro, and a strapping 200 pounds. Dennis was one fine brother. He was definitely my type in every way, tall, brown, and handsome. And that voice put the quiver in my body. Oh, the electricity that crackled between the Pointer Sisters and the Temptations led to our opening for them at the Universal Amphitheater. Pay attention to every detail and trust no one was the message the Temptations sang loud and clear to us that night. Did I say they was, all going to a party at somebody's house? I might have forgot that because I was thinking about Dennis. We could see your dick print, Edwards. Okay, all right. Pay attention to every detail and trust no one was the message the Temptations sang loud and clear to us that night. That really made us start to think. David had never told us anything about finances or the label, which was then involved in litigation involving David and several other clients. That would be David Robinson, the guy who she says she owes her career to. That was good to know, although at the time none of it mattered all that much to me because all I could think about then was the beautiful music Dennis and I could make in the bedroom. Not a recording studio. The opportunity finally came not long after the Universal Amphitheater gig when we teamed up with the Temptations for a mini tour. Before our first show, Dennis came into our dressing room, and as I was applying my makeup, he gently grabbed me from behind and pulled my head back for a kiss. Ooh. Wait for me after the show, he said. You motherfucking right. Oh my God, when I say I'm going to wait for you after the show, oh my God, I'm going to push through this show. You hear me, Dennis? I can see your dick print, Edwards. I would turn around to the band. Okay, 1 and a 2 and a 3. And you say that you love me.